Now, identifying the fact that a defense is running cover two by looking at the safeties. Let's talk about how they line up, what their jobs are, and how lining up poorly can hurt them. We'll also talk about different ways that they can line up that aren't cover two. Now, looking at the safeties, the ball's in the middle of the field. We're going to talk about two things here: their depth and their width. So one, his depth. He's going to be 12 to 14 yards deep. And two, his width. He's going to be 2 yards outside the hashes. And these are college hashes. Now, if you're a high school player, that's going to put you right on the hashes. Now, just to be noted, the depth and width will vary a little bit based on the offensive formation and where the ball is. But these are the max dividers. So if the offense has a bunch formation, a receiver set that's really close to that offensive line, then that safety may not be quite as deep or as wide because he doesn't have to protect that far sideline as much now. So the safety's job is to protect the deep half of the field, each safety taking a half. And they have to be able to cover any vertical routes that are run in their deep half. So if number one takes an outside release and runs a vertical route or a go route up the right sideline here, then that safety has to be able to get over the top and defend that pass. At the same time, he has to be in position to defend a vertical route run by the slot receiver. And sometimes you'll catch a safety that will line up poorly, won't line up on his dividers, and he'll take himself out of position to defend the passes. If the safety lines up in too tight, not wide enough, it becomes extremely difficult for him to cover any vertical routes that are run by the number one receiver. So if that number one receiver takes an outside release, it becomes extremely difficult for that safety to make a play on that far sideline. Now if the safety's too wide and the offense runs two vertical routes, that safety's in poor position to break up a pass that's thrown to that slot receiver. The third example of poor positioning is not being deep enough. Here we're looking at the safety. He's 8 to 10 yards deep, which makes it hard for him to stay over the top of any vertical releases by that number one receiver. If that number one receiver takes an outside release and gets vertical, runs a go route, it becomes extremely difficult for him to stay over the top of that.